Welcome back to Vegan Sing. How are you doing today? Normally on Vegan Sing, we are making YouTube videos about cooking, vegan food, vegan recipes, Sikh history, and Punjabi culture. But today we're going to do a little change up. Today we're going to talk about Nvidia. They're a company that's announcing earnings next week on Wednesday. So I thought it'd be really fun to just see how they performed last year in 2024 and then also just kind of see what investor sentiment has been around Nvidia. There's been a lot of volatility in perception, but there's also been very strong performance. But before I get started, I just want to say this is not financial advice. This is not investment advice. So I just want to make that clear. Let's get started. The big positives for Nvidia continues to be the strength within this AI revolution. The Magnificent Seven companies continue to invest in AI data centers, and that's driving a lot of demand for Nvidia and driving up a lot of sales for them. Now, along with that, what we're also seeing is a lot of these export regulations are starting to get curbed a bit. So, for example, if you think about Saudi Arabia, there's been a lot of news with the CEO of Nvidia going to Saudi Arabia with President Trump to drive some negotiations where they're going to potentially sell Blackwell chips to Saudi Arabia. We're also seeing a lot of positive news around the relationship with China and Chinese companies getting the opportunity to buy Nvidia chips, but less advanced chips. There's been recent news about the Blackwell chip, a lesser version of it that could potentially be on the market for China. So there's been a lot of good news there. And then the biggest piece is the reputation for performance. Nvidia has continued to beat their earnings per share and revenue guidance that they've provided historically. 2024, every quarter they beat, and they've continued to increase their guidance. So that's driving a lot of positive investor sentiment. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, why is there so much uncertainty also? The tariff news, obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty there. I don't need to get into all that. And then also, it's this phenomenon with DeepSeek, where DeepSeek was able to come in and show performance that was similar to OpenAI's ChatGPT, while DeepSeek leveraged a lot less resources comparatively. So that drove a lot of concern and questioning over the need of NVIDIA's advanced chips. Let's look back at NVIDIA's performance from a stock price standpoint the last 5 years. And I have this graph where I'm also including their competitors, AMD and Intel. Now, they are somewhat direct competitors, but there's also nuances with each of these companies. They have all different objectives, and the way they go to market is a little bit different as well. A nuance I'll call out is like Intel, for example. They have their foundry business where they're driving their own production. But on the other hand, NVIDIA and AMD, they work directly with a partner that you probably have heard about if you are investing in these companies, and it's Taiwan Semiconducting and Manufacturing Company. So they leverage that partnership while Intel drives their own production. So that's one key difference among these different companies. Also, NVIDIA has more differentiation within the GPU space, while AMD has more diversification with GPU and CPU. So if you look back 5 years ago and the stock price performance between NVIDIA and AMD specifically, you can see that they were performing pretty closely together. And then you see this differentiation in 2023 where NVIDIA just skyrockets. It just takes off. But now when we look at NVIDIA the past 12 months, this is where you're seeing all this volatility. They had a lights out 2024, like I had stated before, but because of the other factors that I brought up, 2025 has been very volatile. And that's why Q1 earnings next week will be really interesting. So a lot of you non-finance folks may not know this, but every company that is public, that is trading on the NASDAQ, the NYSE, or Dow, they must report their earnings externally. Some report on a calendar year, some report on a fiscal year. They actually work on a fiscal year period and not a calendar year period. So they actually reported their 2025 results, which is from February of 24 to January of 25. And that's why they're reporting so late. This year, a lot of companies ended up reporting back in April, but every company has an investor relations page that is reporting publicly. And within the investor relation page, essentially, you can go into their history and see all the different events and presentations that they had that were public. So I can go and look at their calendar. So if we look at their 2025 results, it has surpassed $3 trillion in market cap. $3 trillion. That's pretty significant. And it continues to trade places with Apple and Microsoft for first place. Let's see what happens next week if they can take first place again. They've been trading places, but last year they were able to overtake Apple, and now it seems like Microsoft's at first place for now, so we'll see what happens next week. The future is approaching, and Nvidia is at the forefront. According to Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, Nvidia is a technology company that processes software for domains of science that is barely possible without Nvidia. Make what's barely possible possible. That's the mantra for Nvidia. Make something very energy consuming, very energy efficient. Make something that costs a lot of money more affordable, resulting in accelerated computing pioneered 3 decades ago, and now it's taking off across multiple segments. So this is what Jensen Huang had said about what is Nvidia. And now Nvidia powers robots to autonomous cars to the Nintendo Switch. Microsoft Azure data centers powering ChatGPT. So these are some examples of the different uses of the Nvidia production. The next AI wave is physical AI. Models that can perceive, understand, and interact with the physical world. Physical AI will embody robotic systems from autonomous vehicles to industrial robots and humanoids, to warehouses and factories. Nvidia tech is required to build physical AI, to train the AI model, to teach, test, and validate the AI model skills, and to run the AI software on the robot. So this was also something that was represented in the earnings release on where is the future of Nvidia going. And Nvidia continues to gain strong press in regards to this segment penetration, as Elon Musk has even stated recently that Tesla will continue to buy GPUs from Nvidia as long as what they produce is better than what Tesla produces. And Elon went on record saying, right now Nvidia has better chips. So the main takeaway from the various segments that Nvidia touches, especially through their data center business, is resulting in the barely possible becoming possible. What was really encouraging from their full year results during their last earnings call is the fact that they've grown significantly while expanding margins to almost 70%. That means for every $10 they sell, they keep $7. That's pretty impressive. The gaming business was a larger part of their business in the past, but as the data center business took off in 2024, so did their margins. What I'm really interested to see is next week how they perform, and then afterwards we'll do a little review of their earnings release and see how investors are to their performance. See you next time. Thank you for watching my first video in going through a company's performance, and I'm going to continue to do this, and I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much.